Right, everyone online? Yeah, so today we're going to revisit this forward contract again, chapter 6, part 2. Right, so these are the things that we'll be going through. We'll run through the forward contract, some of the basic stuff, and we will be looking deeply more into the long position and the short position, right? As well as the other one is on the how to draw a payoff chart, right? So this payoff chart usually comes out in the exam. So you guys do pay attention on this part on how to draw all. It's not that difficult anyway. Right, so looking back to this forward contract again, forward contract is actually one of the simplest of all derivatives that we see, right? We talk about the four derivatives that we'll be going through. This is the first derivatives, and it's one of the derivatives that is traded on the over the counter, as we have mentioned. This over the counter, right, or OTC derivatives basically comes with obligations that one party to buy the underlying commodities or securities, right? So both party, right? The other party who sell it also have the obligations, right? And they will have to set it at the price on some certain date in the future, right? So it's all about future pricing. So you can see the future contract is actually the same, quite similar to the forward contract. Future contracts we'll be talking about in the next chapter, right? So they are actually quite similar to the forward contract. With the exception that forward contract is usually, like just now I mentioned, over the counter, whereas future contracts are usually tradable at the stock exchange. Forward, seldom you see them at the stock exchange. Why? Reason being, the forward contract is very customizable. It's a non-standard, so it's difficult. Whenever you have non-standard product, it's not easy to trade over the stock exchange, right? So you usually have it over just any counter like bank or some of the financial institute, right? So there could be some pricing differences also lah, right? So in a forward contract, what can you expect, right? Basically, it talks about the features of the products, the commodities, the quantity, the quality also, and also the delivery time, date, and place, which has to be specified, plus also the forward price, okay, that the buyer will pay at delivery. Right, here we have a chart. This is actually a future pricing list. This is actually a future index pricing list, right, on the Wall Street Journal, right? And you can see this is dated back 2007, right? Quite a couple of years. So there's something about this financial stuff lah, or any of financial instruments. Usually it doesn't change or varies over the time, right? So what you learn is actually can be very useful, right? In 10, 20 years time, it will still be applicable, right? It doesn't get out of date easily. So in any case, we still are seeing some of these indices right now, right? You can see the Dow Jones Index average, right? The S&P 500 indexes, Nasdaq, okay, and even the US dollars indexes, right? And you can see some of the opening price, opening interest is how much is being traded, okay, available for trading, and the daily changes, whether how much has gone up and down, and you have the lowest price and also the settlement price, right? You have the opening high price, which is the price that opened during the market open hours, usually 9 a.m. in Singapore time, usually, right? So that's for Singapore Stock Exchange, right? And what's the highest, right? So there are a couple of views just for you to take note. So you can see that these are all, some of them are indices, right, or index. So they are usually the average, okay, of the market, the stock and shares markets, right? So the indices are in this case the underlying assets, right, to the contract, to the forward contract, or in this case it's actually the future contracts. Right. So in the forward contracts, okay, we'll be looking at the long party, right? So what is a long party? Long parties is actually the obligation to buy. Okay, long usually refers to the one that going to buy a pair price. Okay, the short party is basically referring to the selling party, right? Usually that's the short and sell, long and buy, right? And but because a forward contract just now already mentioned, when you have it comes with an obligation for both party, which means that both party has to fulfill the contract. There's no way out. Okay, when the times come for forward contract, when the times is matured, expire, you have to proceed with whatever that is stated in the contract, the price, right? So one party have to buy and the other one have to sell, right? So there is this guarantee price at the delivery date. Okay. So spot price is basically the current price, the market price. Okay, so just take note there's a difference between the forward price and the spot price. So spot price is like on the spot, right, at that market price at that instance. So no matter what happened to the current price, right, the forward, okay, contract has to be fulfilled. Just now already mentioned, the long party, right, must buy, the short party must sell, right? So regardless of what's the current price, so they have to fulfill the contract, right? So that's where I just now mentioned is the obligation, right? So example, if you long for $30, okay, the market price at the delivery date is actually 25, right? Let's say you are supposed to long. Remember, long is supposed to be buy, right? Am I supposed to purchase something at $30? But now the market price actually drop, right, to 25, right? Market fluctuates. So which means that, wow, actually you Lugia, the long party is actually at a loss because now I have to buy something at 30 instead of 25, right? Which is you're paying $5 more, right? $5 more. So in this case, what happened? The long party actually kind of make a loss of $5, whereas the short party will gain, right? Stand to gain that $5. Okay, so conversely, right? If the delivery date, the delivery at the market price goes up to let's say 35, okay. So instead of 25, right, the market price went up to 35. Then in that case, you as a long party will stand to benefit because now you get to buy something cheaper than the market price of $35, right? So you buy something cheaper, $5 less, but the short party will couldn't sell something higher and have to sell you at 30. So that's where there's always one party that win and one party that loses. Right, let's take another look at the forward contract, how the forward contract will works. Okay, so here we are looking at somebody trying to buy a house, right? So the house is actually the underlying asset, and we are talking about buying the house 1 year later, right? Which is quite common. Sometimes we want to buy a house. Usually, house don't get transacted very fast. It takes a couple of months, right, to for the whole transactions to complete, and then you need to wait for the person living in the house to move out. So usually you cannot move in the house straight away, right? Typically it takes well, at least 4 or 5 months, right, for the whole entire registration or contract, sales contract to go through, right? So you will want to seal a price, okay, in the future, right? So now we have Bob want to buy a house. So Bob want to buy a house. Andy currently own a house that is valued at 100,000, right? So the settlement is Bob will buy the 100,000 house, right? In 1 year's time at this price, right? There's a slight increase from the market price. So 1 year's time, okay. So the housing price is here. The ND will sell the house in 1 year time at 104K, right? So that's the understanding 1 year. Let's check. At the end of 1 year, what happened? Okay, at the end of 1 year, right? So the current market valuation price somehow has increased, right? It gone up to this, right? So market price goes up, okay, after 1 year. So which means what? What happened? Because of the forward contract, Andy has no choice. He can't sell at this market price anymore because they have a forward contract that says that you have to sell Bob at 104K, right? So in a way, Bob make a profit of $6,000. Why? Because now Bob can actually buy the house at 104 and he could jolly well sell the house at current market price 1 year later, right, which is 1 year now, right, at 110. So which means that he can actually profit 6,000. So simple as that. So in contrast, Andy potentially make a loss of 6,000, right? Because if he has not gone through the forward, he could have sold at 110 and instead of 104, so he could have made an extra of 6,000, right? So that's a potential loss of this, but then he still have a profit, right? He actually still have a profit because his house, I was maybe he owned a house, he bought the house at 100K, so he sell at 104, so he actually still earn 4K lah, right? So in forward contract we talk about credit risk, right? So forward contract, because it doesn't go through stock exchange where it does a daily settlement, so the credit risk is very much reduced when you have daily settlements. So there is a chance that the losing party in the forward deal might default. Default means do not honor the contract, run away, or cancel, right? But by right you should, right? So so the other party, right? If one party default, then the other party obviously they can go ahead and sue the party, but that will take a long, lengthy processes, and there's a lot of legal issues, and you need to engage lawyers, so there are extra costs that will come in, right? So that's where we talk about credit risk, right? Because one party can actually default and then do not honor, and then you will get into other hassle, right? So settlements is not that straightforward also, right? So what you, if you don't want to have this kind of a credit risk, what you can do is you can either instead of having a forward contract, right, or forward deal, right, you can opt for a future contract, right? So but then you might give up some of these flexibilities because, like I say, the future contract might not be flexible, might not be personalized to your requirement, right? It's more of a standard kind of a contract, predefined contract, right? Or you can choose to have options. That's where most of us, when we buy houses, usually we have this purchase to options, right? Option to purchase a house, right, at the end. So usually the buying party will have to pay a deposit or a premium, which might be forfeited if you don't honor the options. We will talk about this, right? So if you don't exercise the options, then you will pay a deposit. You will lose the deposit, or you have to pay the premium, right? So this is the options. We'll come to this. So as of now, you just take note of the forward deal. That's a higher credit risk that could encompass. Right, now let's take a look at this payoff. Right, so this is a payoff. Payoff graph. So how do we calculate? In fact, just now we already last part we have actually saw this, right? This formula, if you still remember this formula on the long position, right? Long position payoff is just simply the spot price minus the forward price, right? Or delivery price, right? So this is the forward price. This is the underlying price, could be the spot price, right? So spot price minus the forward price will give you the long forward payoff, right? On the other hand, the short is just the reverse, right? The formula is just the reverse, right? So you have the forward price minus the spot price, right? Whereas the other one is this. So formula wise, it's pretty straightforward lah. Okay, let's take a look at how do we draw this payoff graph, right? Chart. So this is actually we are looking at the long forward. Long forward means you buy a forward contract, you buy, right? Long buy forward contract. Let's, for example, we have a forward price. This is a forward price. Let's assume the forward price is, okay, usually fixed up, 400. Let's say this is 400 over here, 400. Okay, that's the forward price. So this is the spot price, right? Spot price, the market price that can vary. So we will, how do we plot this graph? We basically varies the market price because the market price can go up and down. It's a variations. So for example, 400. So let's say the forward price, the spot price, the market currently market price goes up to 600. Let's assume. So here is 400. Then we have one is 600 over here. It's 600. Right? So this is 600, this is 400. Right? So how do you calculate the long forward? So it's basically what? S minus forward, isn't it? Or long. Sorry. Spot price minus forward. Right? So 600 minus 400, basically it gives you the difference of 200. Right? So here will be the 200. Right? 200. So that 200 is actually the payoff. So this is the profit. Since it's positive, 600 minus 400 is 200. Right. So what happens if the market price is, let's say, 200? Right. Let's check 300. Let's say 300. So 300 is over here. Since 400 is here, so 300 is the spot price. Let's say the market price goes down to 300, right? So 500 here, 300. So what happened? So 400. Remember spot price. This is the S. This is the F. Okay, forward price. So now you have the S is 300. So 300 minus 400, you get minus, right? You get minus 100. So that's where you get this, right? Spot price 300 minus this, right? So the payoff is minus 100. So you actually lose, right? So you can see that if the spot price fall below the forward price, you have a negative payout, right? If the spot price, the market price is above the forward price, you actually got a positive payout, right? So let's say you got this point, right? Just now we plot this curve, and then we have this point. So actually with 2 points, you can actually plot a long forward payoff graph, right? So as you can just check, right? If it's 500, let's say it's 500, so the payoff is what? 100, right? So we got 100. So this is how the payoff graph would look like in a long forward, right? A long forward. So what about a short forward, right? If you look at the short forward, okay, let's say we plot a short forward. This is now short forward, right? Short forward. So short forward, whatever gains the long have will be the negative, of the short forward, right? Because the formula is reverse, right? F minus S, right? So you might end up a graph that looks like this, right? Whatever losses, like let's say the long forward got a payoff of 100 here, right? Got a payoff of 100. Then here you will lose 100, right? So you might have a point here, and then you also have the similar point over here, right? At 400. Okay, so if it's a 500, I have a loss of minus 100 because I have to pay, the short has to pay this 100. Then if it's a payoff of 200, the money comes from where? Actually come from the short party. So you have another minus 200, right? So you will end up having a graph that looks like this. Okay, try my best to draw a straight line. Okay, so you'll find that you have a mirror image. Okay, whatever happened to the long forward, the reverse goes to the short forward. So the payoff for a short forward is actually a mirror image, right? This is a mirror, is a mirror image invert, right? So this is where we have exactly what I've just drawn earlier, right? So short go this way, right? The gradient is this way, slope this way. That's why you got this way down, right now. It's just a mirror image. Same for the payoff, right? The payoff, short forward payoff, right? So if you use the formula again, it's the same, right? So forward minus S spot price. So let's say this is 400. Then you have this short, let's say 600. So you have a right. So you have a formula F minus S, 400 minus 600, right? So you got a negative 200 over here. So that's why you got this. So that's why it's inversely proportional, right? So you can see, right? So I hope you guys know how to plot short and long forward payoff graph, right? It's not too difficult. So it's either the x-axis, sorry, the y-axis is actually a profit or a payoff, right? Here is the variations of the x-axis is actually the variance of the market price. So in short, okay, profit for long there is a profit for the long. Okay, whenever the spot price okay is greater than the forward price. Right? So on the other hand, the short will lose. Whereas the short will make profit whenever the spot price is less than the forward price. Right? So when the short is less than the forward, then the short will make profits over here. Whereas the long, okay, if short is less than this, the long will lose the profits. So here just an example, right? So if I have a 2 million forward contract, right, and each of this 0.90 per pound, right? So at expiry, it's actually dropped to 83 0.0083 per pound, right? So is that a profit or loss, right? So you can calculate, right? So forward minus this, you actually got profits, okay? If you are doing this, okay? If you are doing this. So the short will basically make a profit. Right. Here we can see that usually at the initial state, the forward contract is usually coming from zero, right? Starting from zero because it's just started. So it's usually $0 value, right? There's no immediate default risk. But as time goes by, the forward contract price can actually varies according to the market value, right? So if the spot price goes up, then the forward price will also, the forward contract will become more valuable, right? It will become an asset, right, for the long party. So So usually as the time goes by, the forward contract can either be a asset for one party because it's profitable, and it can be a loss to another party, so that will become the reliability. So they are reliable to pay for some of this. So that is this. So as and when you can see that as time goes by, for over the period, especially like 1 year, 2 years later, you find that if the losing party know that he's going to lose, right, he will try always to try to default or even try to run away. So that's the risky part. So as you prolong the extent of the contract, okay, so if you know that you're going to lose money, you will try to default, right? Isn't it? Right? So unlike like in the future, daily settlements is every day, so you settle the differences, right? So the lesser of the credit risk. So here also got some examples. This is basically about trading the oil forward contract, right? So 100,000 barrel, right, and the forward price is actually 27. So delivery date is this 4th of July. Okay, so now is May, so it's like about May, June, July, so about 3 months, right? So they are trying to fix the barrel price at this forward price at this 23 per barrel, right, on delivery. So whose incentive to default? Who is liable for default? So you can work out this, and then you can see some of this. Um, Luckily, we are not going to calculate this present value, lah, right? So this is more on the present value. So it's just to give you a sense of how it goes, right? Because whenever you have a price that is a future price, there's always a calculation whether is it worthwhile, because of inflation, because of uh, right? Just like you, chicken rice, you can buy a chicken rice at $3 now. Right? In 10 years later, right, the chicken rice is not going to cost the same $3 with the same proportion, right? Because of pricing, inflation, right? All these things could happen. So it could cost with the same amount of chicken rice, it could jolly well cost you another 50 cents more. To what you get, $3 now, you have to pay $3.50 for the same amount of chicken rice because of inflation. So that's why you bring in the present value calculations. Okay, forward foreign exchange contracts. Okay, so this is about settlement, especially when we also seen this example before when we deal with exchange rate, right? Exchange rate settlements is usually a headache, right? So you need this forward foreign exchange contract to hedge against any of those fluctuation in terms of the currency, the currency to protect against the currency fluctuation. So let's take a look at this example, right? It's quite similar to some of the earlier examples. Like for example, now you are a company who's agreed to sell some aircraft parts, equipment to Canada and in Canadian dollar, right? So you will be receiving in Canadian dollar since your buyer is going to pay you in Canadian, and maybe you prefer US dollars, right? So, but usually in this kind of sales transactions in normal world, there's actually always like a 90 days kind of a letter of credit, right? Which means what? You actually deliver the goods. Do you know that sometimes you deliver the goods, you only receive the payment, right? 90 days later, right? So you deliver something, machinery, and then you invoice them. They have like up to 3 months, sometimes as long as 3 months, right, for them to pay you back, right? So of course you try to shorten that as much as possible, lah, right? So but sometimes you just want to give the goodwill, right, and you want to extend the credit for them so that your buyers will want to prefer to buy from you, right? So, 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 so 90 days, that's about 3 months. 3 months, anything can happen, right? Just like now I'm doing a recording in April, right? So, who can tell me in July is this virus outbreak going to be better, are we still going to do this e-learning, right? Very difficult to take. Everything is quite fluid right now, right? A lot of things can happen, right? So I might want to go. So now I have a problem with this exchange rate, right? Because 3 months exchange rate can fluctuate. So I might sign up a forward contract with Canadian bank, right? Right, to fix the exchange rate. So that is the whole scenario, right? Your company, US company, sell an aircraft part to Canada. Canada, they want to pay you in Canadian dollars, and you want to fix the Canadian dollar so that you can be assured of a certain US profits, right? Okay, let's take a look at this chart easier, right? So here we have a US company, right? Selling aircraft parts to Canada, right? Canadian company, right? So after I deliver the aircraft, right? So I have a sales contract. Say here I have a sales contract. I deliver my aircraft parts to this, and after letter of credit, remember letter of credit, 90 days, which is about 3 months. 3 months later, after they are happy with the machine, the use is reliable, then they pay me the full fees, right? So they pay me this amount, Canadian 500k. So if I have secure a forward contract, so this is another contract. So you have a sales contract, as we discussed before, sales contract, and you have a forward contract, because usually you can also do a forward contract with this company, right? But usually that company is doing aircraft parts, making aircraft, or airline industry, but they are not into foreign exchange. They are not into this, so they might not want to take. You can actually, if this company is willing to have a forward contract, or by all means, but usually don't. So you might end up have to work with another party to help you to hedge the risk, because this company might not be interested in fixing the currency price, right? So you have to work with, let's say just now we mentioned Canadian company. So you will work with this Canadian company to basically uh, personalize and come up with a customized contract. That's why I say customized contract, because the value is different. It's about Canadian 500k, and the exchange rate is, you want to fix it so that you, with the current exchange rate, let's say the current exchange rate is 1.5, right? Okay, so with 500 Canadian dollars given to me, I can fix the exchange rate with this guy, the bank, and I'll be paid using this exchange rate, which is here. I'll be paid this US dollar. Okay, I'll be assured, right? So if I deliver the parts, you'll pay me this amount, and I'll get this amount, and I convert it to US dollar, because maybe you use US dollar to pay your employees and do other businesses. So that will be the amount, US dollar 333k, right? Provided you use back this exchange rate, right? So at least you know that when I get back this profits, or this amount, I have a share of certain profits, right? You can calculate, okay, after 3 months. So that is provided you have a forward contract, okay? You're booked to have this amount of money, right? So the actual receipt is this. But let's say if you never hedge it, you never have this forward contract, right? At the end of 3 months, okay, the 90 days, this Canadian, because of the sales contract, will just pay you this amount. It will not change. This is a sales price, sales agreement. That's the standard, right? It's a fix. I'm going to pay you this. But if you have not got this forward contract, you have the risk of exchanging at the lower rate, because you don't know. So let's say the exchange rate is no good, right? Instead of 1.5, now becomes 1.6. Okay, let's say it's become 1.6, which means what? With the with the Canadian 500, I can now only receive US dollar instead of this amount, 333k US dollar. I'm now getting this 312 US dollar, which means what? There's a shortfall of 20,000 US dollar, right? Simply because of the lousier exchange rate I'm getting at, right, after 90 days, right? So this is where we are coming from to guard against discount losses, right? Potential loss, right? If the exchange rate goes back, right, I could stand to lose 20k US, right? I can stand to lose 20k US dollars. That is provided the exchange rate go back. But of course, there's a possibility that I could also gain. Let's say it goes the other way. The exchange rate turn better in favor of me. I could actually, because of the exchange rate, I can actually earn, let's say, or positive 20k. It's possible. Nobody knows, but it's whether you want to take the risk or not. Right? Whether you want to take the forward contract. Whatever the case is, if you have a forward contract, this is your guaranteed amount, regardless of whether exchange rate is good or bad. At least you are guaranteed to have this receipt, right? Because your sales got this, and you got this guy to basically ensure that you will be exchanging at this rate, and that is the profit. So in most of the time, business, they don't want it to be too unpredictable, right? They want it to be manageable, right? So they would prefer this, right? So if you are the person who are more cautious, right, you would go for some forward contracts like this. Right, let's take a look at another payoff graph. So this is again the payoff graph, similar to what we have seen. And if you can still remember, the long forward, if we plot against this, right, if we look at the long forward, how does it look like? The pattern is like this, right? Pattern is sloping up like this, right? Like this. So you have the same long forward. So this is the long forward curve, right? As we know, the long forward is actually a mirror image. So reverse, whatever gain the long forward have, it goes, right? It's actually being paid by the short forward parties, right? So that's why you have the mirror image. So this is a short forward graph, the long forward. So here is also the same. I think I'll leave it you to basically try to decipher this graph, but generally it's also about the price, the spot price moving this way. So you have the I say you have the spot price is 900. So what happens if it's 900? Right? What happened? Here you have a forward price at 102. Right? So you minus off. So you actually have a differences of minus, okay, minus 120 over here. So that's 120 minus 100, and then there you have the plotting of the graph. Okay, it's similar, so I don't think I want to go through again. So this is how the calculations, right? The long position payoff and the short position payoff, right? So using the same formula, the spot price minus the forward price, the payoff is 30. So that's the long position, and the short position will get the negative. So the $30 actually come from the paying the short, pay the long position. Right. Here is just to give you a preliminary, right? So just now we already seen a long forward. Okay, the graph looks like this. Okay, and then the short forward is basically the mirror image, right? Mirror image. So it looks like this, right? So mirror image, and that's where you get this short, long, and short. They are the different party. So in the options, it will look something like this, right? Option long, the right to buy something. That's what we call a long call, right? So in the option, you have the right to say no. When the price is no good, you can say I don't want to exercise. That's the options, right? So we are comparing the options and the forward price. But generally, just remember this graph first. We will go to this in the next chapter on options, right? So you can see that options is more complicated. That's why I say the long forward is a much easier derivative, right? It's a much easier, simplest derivative, right? If you look at the option, another derivative, you see that you have a possibility of 4 different type of curve, right? So this just for you to take note. We'll go through this graph, so I don't want to confuse you guys, right? So now we have quite a lot for you guys to absorb. So here is also another just to very quick comparison of the long call options. So this is an option contract. Don't get confused. This is not a forward contract. So this is this is a option price, right? Purchase, long purchase. So usually a long call is you can actually fix a price that you want to buy. Let's say $1,000, right? So if the market goes up, right? So you can actually buy at 100, and you can, let's say the market price goes out 1,200. You can buy at this price because you have the option to buy, right? You can exercise the options and you can buy at 1,000, and you can sell at this, okay, which gives you a $200 payoff. Okay, that's how easy. But when the price goes down, right, in the options you don't have this, right? It's basically this, right? If the price goes down to, let's say, $800, I have the options. I say no, I don't want to buy at this price already because I can buy at 800 from the market. I will walk away. So that's why the option price, option graph, payout graph is different from the forward, right? It looks like this, right? But of course, if the options has a premium, right, then you have to pay this premium. So this again, we'll talk about this. That's the premium, right? So here is about 95. So which means that the option usually call for a deposit. So here there's no deposit, there's no premium. That's why your loss is 0. Because if you walk away, then the options is this, right? So anyway, this is just a preliminary information for you, right? So we will deal with this again. Right, so I think we'll end here for this forward second part. Thank you very much again for your attention. Hope you enjoyed the lecture. Okay, anyway, I'm doing this in my daughter's room. Okay, so yeah, my daughter's room. She's not around. Right, she's in the hostel. Right, so signing out. Thank you.